Hello, Internet. I'm here to talk about the emotional roller coaster that comes with relationships and goals. A great example of this roller coaster of emotions is the movie Up. In Up, the main character Carl is an adventurous little kid that wants to follow the iconic Charles Muntz with his trademark quote, "Adventure is out there." After Carl is inspired by the spirit of adventure, he roams around his street holding his balloon, and he hears a voice in an old house. He goes to investigate, where he finds a girl. This is where the second main character comes into play, Ellie. Ellie and Carl share the same ideas and thoughts. They both want to be adventurous, and most of all, happy. Ellie had a dream from the beginning that she wanted to go to Paradise Falls, but after many delays and setbacks, Ellie doesn't get to go with Carl to Paradise Falls, and Ellie sadly dies. This is where the roller coaster takes a turn for the worst. Carl gets sad and depressed and doesn't want to interact with anyone around him, and he begins to become stubborn. After a small skirmish with getting his mailbox ripped off, Carl is on the verge of a lawsuit and eviction. Carl remembers about the dream that Ellie had and focuses his life on that dream to go to Paradise Falls. Carl then meets Russell, who makes life seem a little more interesting. Carl still wants that one adventure of going to Paradise Falls for Ellie instead of embracing the moment with Russell. Carl gets even more stubborn about it and doesn't want to interact with his new friend. Russell tries to get Carl out of his shell, the rut that Carl's in. Carl, as determined as he is, continues to fight to get Ellie's dream. When Russell and Carl go through a storm while in the air, Russell steers them towards Paradise Falls, but he throws his tracker out the window, accidentally of course. Carl gets frustrated and cuts some balloons to get down to ground level. Once they get down, they realize that they were a lot closer than they thought, and at this point they have to walk to Paradise Falls instead of flying there because Carl cut those balloons. Carl didn't really embrace his chance to get to know or enjoy the moment he's in, rather he's focused and determined, while Russell is here just enjoying the new things he's learning being with Carl. Russell meets a bird while he's away from Carl. This certain bird was hunted down, and Russell instantly became friends with the bird and brought it back to Carl. The bird's presence threw off the mission for a while, but Carl instantly doesn't want to keep it. But Russell's intent led him to keep it. The next animal they meet is a dog named Doug. Doug is a very loving and ambitious dog, and he always wants attention. Sadly, Doug is the one hunting down Kevin, the bird. While they go along, Doug keeps asking Kevin if he can take him prisoner. This throws off Russell a little and makes him worried about Kevin. Carl tries to get rid of Doug and Kevin, but they just come right back. As Russell and Carl start to settle down for the night, Russell starts to ask questions from Carl, asking about his life and what has led up to it. This changes Carl's attitude towards Russell. He wants to be around him more rather than before, when he was so stubborn on getting that one adventure. He started to embrace the moment. In the morning, the dogs that were chasing after Kevin finally met up with them. They take Carl and Russell to their master, which apparently is Charles Muntz. Carl realizes it's Muntz instantly, and they start talking about the journey that they've been on, that he's come all the way here in a floating house. Charles Muntz then shows them the bird's bones, telling them he's looking for it. Russell instantly blurts out, "It looks like Kevin." That makes Charles Muntz very skeptical, making Carl very uneasy. In this moment, Carl cares more about the bird than anything, and he has more of an attachment to it. At this moment, they see Kevin out the window on top of the house, and Carl and Russell have to get away from Muntz. For a moment they get away from Muntz, but when Kevin is hopping towards her home, Muntz comes out of nowhere and captures Kevin. Carl and Russell rush to try and free Kevin, but at that moment, Muntz lights Carl's house on fire, and Carl at this point has a choice to help the bird and reunite it with its family or save his memories. When he chooses to save his memories, Kevin gets taken captive by Muntz and stays with him for the time being. Carl then retrieves his memories, and after the fact gets frustrated at everyone for getting him into this mess that he had to make this choice. Carl then continues on his way to Paradise Falls and lands exactly where he needs to be, finishing the adventure that they eventually wanted. Russell is feeling terrible for leaving Kevin over this house. Carl finally reads the last part of the book he didn't open and realizes Ellie only wanted him to enjoy what adventure he has and enjoy the ride he's on. Carl then realizes about Russell and Kevin that they both just wanted to enjoy an adventure with him rather than be so focused on just this one adventure that he strives to have. At that moment, he sees Russell fly off into the clouds, going out to try and find Kevin on his own. Carl feels devastated because he's been so drugged down by his memories and his own ambitions that he's forgotten about Russell. And just as a side note, I would not recommend flying off into the clouds with a leaf blower and a few balloons. So he starts throwing stuff out of the house to lighten the house to follow Russell to Charles. After Carl gets rid of a lot of stuff, he then flies to Charles and Russell and joins in on the fight. Russell and Carl meet up with the bird, get him out. Overtaking the spirited adventure, they release Kevin back to her family and Russell gets his badge. And like he wanted and requested, Carl came to put it on him. Carl realizes that just having one ambition and one adventure isn't worth it, that you need to embrace every moment that you have. The movie ends with a very emotional sight of Russell and Carl sitting together eating ice cream and counting the cars. In a short summary of this movie, I see that Carl begins as a happy child who just wants to explore the world and not be held back by the idea of adventure. When he meets Ellie, who shares the same ideas, they become a great couple who enjoys their time together. Carl creates an idea of going to this Paradise Falls with her, but sadly Ellie dies before they could go. When Carl nearly gets evicted, he strives and dedicates his life on Paradise Falls. When after meeting this kid, he doesn't change yet. After all the pains of being in the air, he finally gets down with this kid. Carl decides that instead of embracing the moment and enjoying the new adventure, he's still stubborn on getting what he wants, and it takes him nearly the whole movie to realize that. When he does, he feels sympathy because he shut down so many opportunities to be happy where he is. He instantly wants to change, and Russell is the catalyst, giving him a new insight to live his life. Thank you for watching this well-developed video. You can check out my Patreon. Oh wait,